Well, we're joined now by Kerri Murray. She's president of ShelterBox USA and joins us live from Santa Barbara in California. Ms. Murray, good evening to you there on the West Coast. Good to have you with us. You have experience being on the ground in places like Syria. Are your teams up and running there at the moment?
Yes, so ShelterBox has been deploying our emergency response team to the region. We have been working in Syria specifically for the past 11 years due to the civil war. So we have deep experience responding to the region, both to horrible conflict situations as well as earthquake situations. We were in southern Turkey in 2011 for the Van earthquake. So this is what we do every day at ShelterBox. We bring emergency shelter and essential supplies to communities that have been absolutely devastated by some of the world's worst disaster and conflict zones.
I imagine communication is quite problematic, but what are you hearing from your teams on the ground about the situations in which they're working?
So our team is actually making its way to southern Turkey now. We know right now that over 8,000 people have been killed. We know that thousands of buildings have been reduced to rubble. And so our team is going to be doing a rapid needs assessment on the ground to determine the right amount of emergency shelter, the types of essential humanitarian supplies. It could be thermal blankets, solar lanterns, there's no power, basic things for people to sustain themselves when they've literally lost everything in this earthquake. We've also been talking to our partners that we have deep relationships over years working with in the region, from Rotary to local Syrian partners in country. And we know that this is going to be a massive amount of humanitarian need, both in southern Turkey, but also northern Syria as well.
It can be hard enough housing a dozen, 100 people after some kind of flooding or natural disaster. But we're talking, especially in Syria, about thousands of people, many of whom are already living in tents and refugee camps. How is this going to be possible?
That's what's so devastating about the situation. We saw in Syria over the past 11 years, half the pre-war population had already been displaced. So many of these very vulnerable Syrians have been displaced multiple times. And so the scale of this is just going to be massive. The fortunate thing for ShelterBox in all of this is that we have partners on the ground. We have pre-positioned aid in the region. We also have deep experience working with these displaced families and really understanding the unique displacement needs they have. So what are the types of things they need, from tents to shelter kits to solar lights to mattresses to blankets? So over the next several days, we are going to be doing this rapid needs assessment and mobilizing our aid and partners in the area to do everything that we can to help these families. It's a horrible situation. And for the Syrians and in southern Turkey, it's absolutely a crisis within a crisis. So we have to do so much to help these families. This is not going to be an easy one. The logistics are incredibly complex in working in these areas. And so we are committed for the long haul. We have been for over 11 years in Syria and to help the displaced families there. So we remain committed, but it's not going to be an easy one. And our team is arriving now in country, and they're going to be working to really help quickly assess and bring aid items to the country.
Added to the complexities of the logistics or the political situations in Syria after this, decade of civil war, how does that affect things for you?
Well, for ShelterBox, we have been working at this, and it's a very complex situation in the midst of a civil war situation there. And so for us, having access to the humanitarian corridors, making sure our partners have the aid items they need. Many of them are Syrian partners that have been risking their lives to distribute our aid. So it's being able to continually mount a response. We are fortunate in that ShelterBox has been able to work successfully in the country for several years now. But one of the things that we know is needed is there going to be more humanitarian actors that are really needed to bring more resources specifically to Syria right now, because it is just a really complicated situation. You've seen in Idlib government, also Aleppo, areas we've worked before, they need a lot of help.
Okay, Kerri Murray from ShelterBox USA, thank you very much for sharing your experience with us.
Thank you.